Today I'm bringing you 4 bathroom DIYs for my craft room. So DIY number 1. I have this plaque from the Dollar Tree and it's kind of rough around the edges, so I'm just going to take my sanding block and sand around it. Once I get that done, I want to take a sheet of regular paper and I'm going to use my fingers and go around the top of the plaque so that it indents and I can make a template. And I'm just going to take my pencil so that I can see it a little better. So I'm just going to cut out my template. I'm going to set that aside and then we're going to paint the plaque with some white apple barrel acrylic paint. And I'm going to paint it all over. The sides, the front, the back, the whole thing, and then I'm going to dry it with my heat gun. Once I have that done, then I'm going to take my sanding block and sand it down a little more. And now we're going to take our faux leather from the Dollar Tree. We're going to put our template on it. We're going to draw around it. And then we're going to cut that out. Just going to trim it up a little bit more. And then for some reason I switched to the beads for the bottom as legs. Okay, so the faux leather is already on there, and I did just use Mod Podge to put it on. And now I have Moisturize Word from my Cricut. And I'm just weeding that. And we're going to take our transfer tape and our little tool there. We're going to peel off the backing. And there we have our word, and we're going to put it on the top of our riser. So I'm just using the burnishing tool to put the word on our faux leather. Peel off the transfer tape. And that's it for DIY number 1. So on to DIY number 2. For this one here, we have one of those wood round pencil holders from the Dollar Tree. I'm just taking my sanding block again and sanding it down. It's a little rough. And we have our apple barrel white paint, so we're just going to paint the whole thing. Now I do not paint the inside of it, but I do paint the bottom and the very top. And I'm just going to take my heat tool and I'm going to dry it. And now we're going to take that faux leather and we're going to cut a strip of it to go around a little more than halfway, probably about 2/3 of the way down the container. And I'm just using my cutter there to cut the faux leather. It does a good job. Kind of gotta work with it to start it cutting though. And then again, I'm just going to take my Mod Podge and apply it to my container so I can apply the faux leather to it. And my homemade Mod Podge is a cup of glue, and that could either be all-purpose glue or the school glue from Elmer's, and 1/4 cup of water. If it is too thick, add more water. If it's too thin, add more glue. So once I have my Mod Podge on my container, I'm going to add my faux leather to it. And I want to match up the bottom edge of the container to the edge of the faux leather. Now I'm just going to cut off the excess. And now I made the word paintbrush with my Cricut. And I just printed one of the designs that was already on Cricut Design Space, bringing it a little closer so you can see it better. Just weeding that out. This says paint brushes. It has a border around it, and I did it in black vinyl. So I'm just continuing to weed out the pieces of the vinyl that I don't need. And after you get that done, you put your transfer tape on it. You use your burnishing tool so that the vinyl gets on your transfer tape, and then you just peel off the backing. Or in this case, you peel it up off of the board. Okay, so I'm just adding it to my container, and then I'm burnishing it onto it. And there it is. Of course, as you can see, it says Paintbrushes. So my eye kind of disappeared somewhere. So I'm just putting a layer of Mod Podge on it. I find out later that my eye is missing. And I did put Mod Podge on the bottom inside of the container. And there I noticed that my eye is missing. So I look back at my transfer tape, and sure enough, there's the eye. So I'm just going to rub it on there with my fingernail. Transfer tape was pulling up a little bit of the Mod Podge. So I'm just going to add a little bit more Mod Podge to it, and I'm drying it with my heat gun. And that's all there is to this one. These are pretty simple, easy DIYs, but I needed to update my bathroom. Now on to DIY number 3. So we have this canvas that's 11 by 14. And I did spray it with some clear spray so that my vinyl would stick to it. If you don't spray it first, I don't think the vinyl sticks to it. So it says bathroom, and then it gives the definition of bathroom. It says it's a noun. It's a temporary sanctuary for overwhelmed parents I'm trying to read it here. Taking refuge from their offspring. I just thought that was real cute. And that is off of Cricut Design Space too. All I did was make it a little bit bigger. So I get all that on my canvas. And now we're going to take the faux leather and we're going to add a piece of that to the bottom. So I want to cut a piece about 4 inches. Now, I don't want my faux leather to go over the edges, so I'm going to trim that down. Just holding my finger in places to where I want to cut it. And actually, I think I cut it pretty good, so it turned out real good. And again, I'm just going to use Mod Podge to put the faux leather onto the canvas. Once I get that down, I'm going to go ahead and put the Mod Podge all over the top portion of the canvas, over all the words. And that's it for this DIY, and now we're on to DIY number 4. So for this one here, we're going to have this piece of wood. My husband had drilled 2 holes in it. It was something he was using for something else, and I just saved the pieces of wood. And then I have this clothesline material here that it's cotton that I'm going to use as a hanger. So I just put some hot glue on the end of it, and I'm smoothing it down until I can hold it with my fingers and twist it so that I can get it through the hole. So I'm just feeding it through the hole to the front, and then I'm just going to tie a knot in it. Actually, I was feeding it from the front to the back. So this is the back. And then I'm going to put knots in both ends in the front of the board. So what I want to make here is a place where I can hang my mats that I paint on, and after I dry them, so I can hang them to dry on this in the bathroom. And I actually come back later and I tighten up this clothesline on there so that it's even with the board, so that when you hang it up, it just hangs a little bit from the board, not a lot like it is right now. And now I'm going to take the piece of faux leather, just trying to decide which edge I want to use. I'm going to use this edge right here. So I'm going to make it as wide as not as wide, but tall as the board. So it's about 2.5 inches. So I'm going to cut a 2.5 inch strip. And it goes right in between the 2 knots there, and see, I gave a thumbs up. We got it cut just right. So again, I'm going to use my Mod Podge to put the faux leather on. You could also use hot glue for this. And I do end up using the hot glue around the 2 ends. So I have Drip Dry that I that I did on my cut for my Cricut using white vinyl. And see how my faux leather kept trying to pull up with it? I finally, like I said, I used some hot glue to keep it down, the 2 ends. So I'm going to burnish down my Drip Dry. And pull off that transfer tape. See how it's pulling up? I should have waited for the whole thing to dry before I put on my vinyl. So I just have 2 clothespins. I'm going to put one on either end beside the knots. And it's going to hold our silicone mat that we use to paint on. because once you clean it, you gotta kind of hang it up or something to let it dry, or wipe it down with a towel or whatever. So there it is. And now for the reveal. So this is my little half bath. There I have my bathroom sign on the wall. My drip dry with my silicone mat hanging from it. My little moisturizer riser with my lipstick. And there's my paintbrush holder. My lipstick and my lotion, hand lotion. And just so you guys know, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts. And if you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so. And I appreciate you.